In a surprise move and a disturbing move, Los Angeles, the district attorney in Los Angeles, George Gascon, has dropped the charges against Eugene Yu, the CEO and founder of the company, the election software company called Konnech. Now, this is a surprise at one level because when charges are filed, usually the case goes forward, but it's not a surprise in a little different sense, and that is that here you have a left-wing progressive DA, George Gascon, and the case appears to have emerged out of his office, the election integrity or election crimes unit of his office. He let it go forward because he had originally made this statement, I'm quoting him, "Data breaches are an ongoing threat to our digital way of life. When we entrust a company to hold our confidential data, they must be willing and able to protect our personal information from theft. Otherwise, we're all victims." So this is what the DA's office found that Eugene Yu and Konnech had done, stored huge troves of US election data on Chinese servers accessible to the Chinese government. Now, interestingly, Gascon doesn't come out and say that this didn't happen. He makes this weird statement. "We are concerned about both the pace of the investigation." What, it went too fast? "And the potential bias in the presentation and investigation of the evidence. As a result, we've decided to ask the court to dismiss the current case." Now, the bias here, I think, is a clear reference to Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips of True the Vote. Greg Phillips went out to Los Angeles and testified before the grand jury. And so the argument here appears to be that they are somehow biased because they're right-wing and they're conservatives. But I went back and read the complaint that had been filed by the DA's office. And remember, the DA's office in Los Angeles has its own investigators. And so the information in the complaint was based upon information that had been obtained by the DA's investigative unit. And again, as you read through it, it makes very specific allegations, and two in particular, not merely the violation of trust, which is to say the data breach, and the accessibility of this data to a hostile country, but in addition, charges of misappropriation of funds, theft, that this Eugene Yu collected money under city contracts. And by the way, Konnech's contracts are not just with Los Angeles. They have contracts with Texas. They have contracts with other cities and counties. And so you have a very interesting situation where, you know, maybe we can't trust the left-wingers in Los Angeles to investigate this. Many of us were surprised that there was even an initial indictment and complaint filed in Los Angeles by Gascon of all people. But there are conservative jurisdictions that can have their own investigations and bring their own charges if appropriate. Now, why would they not want to do that? There's really only one reason. And that is that the elected officials in some of these conservative jurisdictions haven't done their due diligence. In other words, they were like, "Oh yeah, Konnech, oh yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely, let's sign the contract." And they weren't monitoring it. And now they're busted. True the Vote has sort of revealed that, wait a minute, there's been a massive data breach here. By the way, Greg Phillips comes out and goes, "More than that, we have irrefutable evidence that the entire Pennsylvania voter registration file is living on a server in China. Machine serial numbers, ballot bundle numbers, they didn't steal it. They gave it to the CCP and the PLA. The PLA, of course, the People's Liberation Army, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party." So True the Vote is absolutely standing by their data. And I haven't seen one iota of evidence, not even from the DA, saying that this data is inaccurate. They're merely, I think, embarrassed that this was brought to light by True the Vote, and it seems like some conservative jurisdictions are in the same position. They kind of want this whole thing to go away because they don't want to be busted for their own ineptitude.